Mike's not on. I don't see no light on.
Testing.
There you go.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing.
We'll do it one more time.
Testing.
Good evening. The June 23rd monthly meeting of Dixon County School Board is now in session. For the record, I'd like to recognize that all school board members are present, as well as Tanya Baker, Board Clerk, Scott Mullins, School Board Attorney, and Haley Robinson, Division Superintendent. At this time, would you please stand and pledge allegiance in the moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have the agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one addition to the agenda. It's item S, discussion in regards to surplus property at the town of Clinchco. It's in red on your agendas.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda with the addition?
So moved. Second.
Any discussions? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. This brings us to the public comment. Mr. Hayden, will you please read the guidelines for public comment? Ms. Martin, will you please be our timekeeper? Ms. Martin, is she here?
Mr. Deal will do the timekeeper.
Okay.
Period of time for public comment will be designated on the meeting agenda during which the public may comment on issues related to public education. The Dixon County School Board believes that the citizens of the county should be heard and that this is an acceptable format for receiving public comment. After public comment, the section of the meeting is closed. The public shall not be allowed to participate in general board member discussions regarding agenda items. Public participation with the board members regarding agenda items can be disruptive. The practice is prohibited by Robert's Rules of Order. It is the desire of the school board to treat each member of the public fairly and equally. Allowing one individual to participate while excluding others is unfair. The board may hold such public hearings as may be necessary to allow the public to more fully express their concerns, or the board may place the public comment section of any meeting at the end of the meeting to allow additional public comment. While we do not wish to restrict the free expression of opinion, we feel that certain restrictions may be necessary so that order and reasonable standards of decorum may be maintained. We ask that the following standards be adhered. The speaker will be recognized by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. Speakers will refrain from the use of vulgarity or profanity and will avoid negative or embarrassing comments directed towards specific children or students. Board members should not respond to issues presented by speakers unless clarification is necessary. Matters of concern raised under public comment will be referred to the appropriate official for investigation and future board consideration if necessary.
For public comment, we'd like to recognize Kathy Music, the VPE. After comments, Sean Taylor with DA and Susan Mullins with the Historical Society. Is there anyone else here for public comment?
Test.
Oh, no problem. Good evening, Chairman Rasnick, members of the board. Again, my name is Kathy Music. I'm the regional representative for Virginia Professional Educators. And I guess this time of year, this could be deemed the closeout meeting. One year ends and a new year begins. And in education, I think, as a former educator myself, it's a time of reflection, a time to look back and say, oh, this is great, so exciting. And as you look back on your last year, oh my goodness, how awesome is it? I was able to attend the opening of the new elementary school, so I congratulate you on your ability to move forward. There were lots of things that you had to jump through to get that going, but anyway, I'm excited about that. And also, as the teachers, some of them are still doing summer school or whatever, you know, it's that for them too. So I asked as we move forward into this new year, starting July 1, it's a new fiscal year, that you continue to keep the teachers and the students as you have in the past in the forefront, because that's who we do it all for, and that's who makes the difference. So thank you for always considering that, and I hope as we move forward, that'll be your guiding principle. So thank you again for all you do, and have happy 4th of July and a great summer.
Thank you, Kathy. Susan?
Good evening. My name is Susan Mullins. This is Catherine Cummins. We're officers and directors of the Historical Society.
Ms.
And-
Mullins, if you can speak, Susan, if you can speak into the microphone. I'm sorry,
Okay, I'm not used to stuff like this.
we understand.
First off, my name is Susan Mullins, Catherine Cummins. We're officers and directors of the Historical Society. First off, we would like to invite the members of the board and the public to come by the old Clintwood High School, which we're trying to get out of that, to see what the Historical Society has done to change the field house into the Historical Society. It's been a massive undertaking, and everybody that walks in is just wowed by what is there and what we've done to it. Basically, we've done the downstairs, we have new carpet, paint, and a chairlift. But as one of the members of the employee of the town says, it no longer looks like a dungeon. So it's taking on a life of its own. One thing we want to ask of the school board is that they consider asking the teachers of the local and Virginia history, which we think is the 3rd and 4th grade now, to maybe schedule field trips to come to the field house or to the Historical Society when we have it completed, just to trace their family history, see what kind of history the county has had, things of that nature. But our main reason for being here is I've been contacted or been told that there are some military plaques at Irvington Elementary that we would like to have to place alongside the plaque that came out of the old DMHS school. Mr. Rasnick, I may be misquoting you here, but did you tell me there was a plaque at Clintwood Elementary, a military plaque?
I do not
misunderstood you.
I do not recall one there. I was talking about the one at Irvington. I went down to the graduation and came by, and I talked to Ms. Robinson about that, and I think you all may have talked, but I do recall the others you mentioned.
Okay. We would also, these are just some particular things. We would also like to ask about the architectural plaques at Irvington and Sand Lake and Clintwood Elementary when it closes, if those are going to remain with the school board. I think we've got the one from Clinchco Elementary. So if you all would keep that in mind.
Okay.
Also, I know that you'll probably be having surplus sales, or the county will be having surplus sales. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But if the school board would consider letting us go through those schools before they're closed or turned over to the county, we would like to go through to salvage any photographs, books such as yearbooks, local history books that have not been removed by staff, which I know that you all have sent some Irvington High School yearbooks. I received a call from Sand Lake. They're going to bring some stuff over. I'm not sure what all is going to be in that. And I'm not sure if we've gotten anything from Irvington Elementary yet or not.
Mr. Chair, if I can respond. Susan, it's good to have you with us. Ms. Cummings, good to have you with us. That will be part of our agenda item. I can tell you that all of the plaques, the military plaques at Irvington Elementary School have been taken down, and I'm pretty certain that the board feels very strongly, I'm not speaking for them, but that we've had discussions about anything that way to be donated to the Historical Society. I need to check on the architectural plaques, okay? But anything that we have found, paperwork, anything that way that we felt like you would use, we have just called, and thank you, you've been so kind and gracious to come and pick it up. We do have some trophies at Sand Lake that we've contacted the mayor and the Hayside Town Hall. They do not have the space, so we have packaged those up, and if you'd like to come and pick those up, you're certainly more than welcome. So
Where are those at?
they're at Sand Lake Elementary School, and I'll ask Dr. Anise to call you
Okay.
to do that. But anything that we see, the plaques, I felt that we needed to have board approval, and their vote on that. But anything that we find is paperwork or anything that way, we're just more than kindly to give to you, and I know that the board supports that.
One thing, and I don't know if this would be the right place to say it or not, but I'm going to. We do have some individual plaques for Hayside, right? That if that person comes by and wants to pick that plaque up, we're going to let them take that. If it's an individual plaque that we rescued during one of our rescue missions in the schools. But we would like to get those to the person they belong to, because, we just feel that that person should have them.
I don't think that's appropriate, yes.
So
There
if,
were quite a few at Longs Fork that we've hung on to, and we've talked about it, that, these kids
Yeah, it means something.
probably they're not kids anymore.
Yes.
Probably cherish it.
Yes.
So,
but if that individual, we don't want to give it to somebody, just somebody off the street says, hey, I'm here to pick up Damon Rasnick's plaque, we don't want that person to take it. We want Damon, if he wants it, to come in and pick it up.
yeah.
And the school board has always felt that any of those kind of plaques should best be given to you. That way, they can be on display, and then we knew that if a person came by and wanted that, you were very gracious to give that to them. But sometimes, we get into trouble when we try to do that. So
Well,
it's best coming from you.
Just to let you all know that Donald Baker collected the trophies from Clintwood High School, and those are on display. That one room will be left for Clintwood High School. We are and do want to incorporate Irvington, Hayside, any of the other local schools, Ridgeview, anything that they want to bring in to donate. We'll take it.
Thank you so much. And I will check on the architectural plaques, and if the board agrees, then we will take those down the walls and bring them to you, or
Okay.
bring them to the school board office at your convenience, however we can help you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here, both of you.
Okay, but do come by and visit with us. We'll be open on the 4th. We're not completely moved in. We still have a mess, but as my great aunt used to say, you have to make a mess to clean up a mess. So,
Well, I would like to say that I'm sure the entire board agrees. We commend you all for what you do and the preservation that you've carried out. And I know it's a lot of hard work, but it certainly is worth the effort. And I'm so happy that you all take the time and effort to do what you do.
well, we've had fun with this project.
That's for sure. Well, I'm sure we'll work with you in every way we can.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Tiller.
Hello, I'm Sean Tiller, DDA President. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak. Summer can be a quiet time for us. Thankfully, this summer is relatively quiet. That means good news in terms of like the issue and things of that nature. Which leads me to the next point. I do want to extend thank you for taking care of the teachers and the employees with the raise this year. I know I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but it made a lot of people happy. Could tell a little bit of lightness in the air towards the end of the year when they found out. People were happy, and that was good, especially during this time of year. It's good for them to have a positive outlook, see the respect that you have for your employees and how you're taking care of them. And it's good for morale, it's good for everybody. So once again, I'd like to say thank you. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tiller.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
I think we have one more.
Agenda
I'm
item
sorry,
is-
Mr. Isaac, I think we have one
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Rasnick, board members, Ms. Hubbard, Ms. Robson, I'm Vicki Barton on behalf of the Dixon County Fair. I want to thank you all for letting the children have a kid's day for the fair that afternoon. It is greatly appreciated that everything you all do for us. I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Even though your name wasn't here, I'm glad you came to speak. Thank you very much.
It kind of last minute, Damon.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Our next agenda item is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes, approval of monthly bills, revenue and expenditure summary, discussion of school activity funds, approval of field trips, approval of elementary school construction invoices, the approval of bank reconciliation documents, health statement account. Are there any questions or discussion of the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The motion passes. Our next agenda item is information from the school board. Ms. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members. Good evening. Information for the board, you have conferences listed, 2 conferences listed in your packet. Also, Mrs. Baker has placed by your chair a small card, a red card that has other conferences that are listed. We invite you to attend these conferences, and if you need any help from us to help you register or transportation, anything in that manner to make the accommodations, please let Ms. Baker know, and she will be more than happy to assist you with that. Thank you.
Ms. Robinson, will you please tell us about the good news from our school?
Well, we have a group of fisher people, fishermen and women, on our that we would like to recognize, and I'd just like to turn our meeting over to Mr. Jason Hicks, who had requested that this group be placed on the agenda. Mr. Hicks?
Well, thank you, and told him I'm not going to steal any of their thunder so he can come up and brag on these kids, but I will say that, the Ridgeview Bass Fishing Club, this second year, is that right? So fairly new, and they have an amazing accomplishment that they're going to come up and share with us. So, Alan, if you'll come on up. Alan also has the snazziest shirt in the building on there. I don't know. Some of these kids may be as snazzy as they are. Oh, here they come.
I like those shirts.
Thank you all for allowing us to come this evening. Got some kids here with me. Most of you guys are familiar faces, but for those of you that don't know me, my name's Alan Taylor. I'm the coach and the organizer of the Ridgeview Fishing Club. And most of you guys know we went to state championship, our middle schoolers did, a couple weeks ago back, and we did really well. Matter of fact, I like to read.
You did better in a little while.
Yeah. I like to read a quote from the Virginia Bass Federation. This is a quote, this will be published in the Tight Lines magazine, but this was a quote directly from their Facebook page. Congratulations to Braxton Fleming and Alex Grant from Ridgeview Middle School on the 3rd place win in the Virginia Bass Federation Junior State Championship at Lake Anna. Congratulations to Ryder Taylor and Parker Taylor from Ridgeview Middle School on their second place win in the Virginia Bass Federation Junior State Championship at Lake Anna. And finally, to complete the sweep, again, Ridgeview Middle School, congratulations to Dylan Lee and Jordan Lee for their first place win in the Virginia Bass Federation Junior State Championship at Lake Anna. Yes, you heard it right, Ridgeview Middle School took it all. Way to represent your school. And that's a direct quote from them. And I'd like to introduce the boys here. This is Ryder. We have a couple that aren't with us this evening. They're vacationing. But we have Ryder Taylor, and this is Braxton Fleming, Dylan Lee, and Jordan Barton. But these are our fishermen. These are middle schoolers. We have a much larger field. We have about 22 anglers total, counting our high school and our middle school. But not being disrespectful with a hat or anything, but I just wanted to see this is what we wear, you know, to the tournaments to represent the school and everything. It looks really good, I think. You know, we get a lot of compliments on our jerseys, probably one of the better looking jerseys out there, I think, and we have overwhelming support from the community. But again, you know, with this their win at the championship, and I like to mention also that all these kids will be offered a scholarship through fishing at the college, you know, that they choose to go to once they go through high school and graduate. It's a much larger scale than most of us know around here. You know, the fishing organization is much larger than what even I realized, you know. But anyway, the last week of July, Dylan and Jordan, since they won, they'll be going to Oklahoma to represent Virginia in the Nationals.
Goodness.
And so I think that's a very good accomplishment for the club. We've had several top 10 finishes. They've had big fish. Two of our boys have had big fish a couple of times, and you're talking about out of a 350 boat field, you know, so I feel we did rather well. But again, you know, this takes money, you know, and we've not asked the school for anything. You know, I petitioned you all a couple of years ago to get this started. Of course, all of our insurance and everything, you know, and all that's through the Bass Federation. There's no liability to the school or whatever. But, you know, again, we would like to petition the school to be able to set up an account through the school, to be able to use the tax exempt number and stuff. We've had some people that would like to make some larger donations to the club, but, you know, they, due to their company policies and stuff, they need a tax exempt number and all that to make a larger donation. And we would like to petition the board to be able to set up an account for the Ridgeview Fishing Club through the school, so that, you know, this would help. You know, it's a pretty good expense. We went to Lake Anna, and so far the boys have raised all the money, you know, to be able to go, and the parents has helped out, but that was a 7-hour trip, and you're talking 14 hours for these other kids here. And like I say, we've had overwhelming support from community, just a great community we live in. Can't thank everybody enough. A lot of local businesses, you see a lot of them on our jerseys. You got Hayside Supply, just to mention one, and even some that are not from here. Had some as far as Lexington, Kentucky, but they helped purchase the jerseys for the boys. We've stood out with buckets, you know, at Food City, and just so far it's just been great. Couldn't ask for any better support from the community. But that is one thing that we'd like to petition the board and ask that you guys consider that we could set up an account through the school.
Mr. Resnick, with the board's permission, we can do that very quickly. If you will call me tomorrow, we will set that up for him at Ridgeview High School with Ms. Taylor's help and get that started immediately for you. If the board and I see shaking heads. So if you'll call me tomorrow, we'll get that set up for you.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's outstanding. I'm so proud to hear all that good news. It's just another plus for Ridgeview and for these kids to have the opportunity. It's just, you know, it's overwhelming. It's a great thing.
Do they give away their secrets? In other words,
Yeah, what were you guys throwing? What was it?
I I know my husband would like to know what, when, where, and how, so I just wondered.
Yeah, I think they're pretty secretive.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they're pretty secret. But and another thing, if you guys, if you go online, check out the Virginia Tightlines magazine in July, our kids will be the cover photos, you know, and the story for the Virginia Tightlines magazine. It'll be all about Ridgeview because they wound up, you know, winning first, second, and third place. So that's ought to
That's
be in there.
outstanding. I hope that maybe we can have a copy of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
for the
That would be
Historical
wonderful.
Society of-
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
preserve the
That's
school.
wonderful. And thank you to all the parents that support them. Thank you.
Yes, it's a
Great.
big undertaking, you know. Mr. Flint Chris, he's an employee here at the school. He's a boat captain for 2 of the boys. And then I also have Martin, one of the parents of the other kids. But anyway, it is a big undertaking to travel that far and stuff. But it's a lot of fun as well. Sure is. Sure. All right.
Oh, no, we can't let them get out of here without them coming up and getting a picture.
yes.
So you got too snazzy the shirts on to not get a picture.
See those shirts?
All right.
Yeah, come on, and the board would like to,
I don't know.
to applaud you, and we can need a picture, I guess.
Who's got a camera?
Miss Taylor is my picture taker. Come on.
No, I'm getting out. I'm not photobombing again.
And you can take ones for each board member here. Hey, hey.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations, Alan. Keep it up.
Guys, I'm impressed. So that's the church.
Gentlemen, if you'll stand right here. Put your hand
Sling.
with,
Great job.
with Alan and Mr. Hicks. Any other board member that wants to come?
Ms. Hicks, they want you in the picture, I
Stay
think.
right here, we'll take your picture.
This is theirs.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll send the picture, Alan, so you can give it to the parents. Let's have a- Are you sure you can't?
Well, that's a plus.
I would say that we are one of the few schools that have a bass fishing club as successful as this one, so congratulations.
Okay, are we ready for Mr. Deal?
Before we introduce Mr. Deal to come, I'd just like to mention a couple of things, especially about our ribbon-cutting ceremony. You're welcome to remain, or if you'd like to, Alan, if you'd like to remain, you're more than welcome to remain, or you may, if you need to leave, that would be fine too. Okay, that'd be fine. But again, you're welcome to remain. These boys, I would say, are hungry.
Probably got trot lines to see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that just makes you happy. Ribbon cutting at Ridgeview Elementary School was a very special event. I think as I talked to each of you, and I talked to community members that attended, they're still talking about what a great event that was and how special it was. And I would be remiss if I just didn't recognize some people that worked very, very diligently behind the scenes. Nothing like that takes place without a lot of people. So if you would not mind, I have some people that I would like to recognize, and they're the people that are behind the scenes. They're the people that, aren't in front of a microphone or anything else that way. But if it hadn't been for them, we could not have done it. First of all, a huge thanks to our maintenance staff, Mr. Terry Smith, Mr. Joe Mons, Mr. Rick Cox, and Mr. Alan Dotson. They did a tremendous job in helping prepare the campus for our guests. Our custodial staff at Ridgeview High School and Ridgeview Middle School who helped to set up. Our custodial staff at Sam Lake. Our technology director and technology staff Ryan Wallace, and Adam Powers, Cody Browning, and Derek Byers. Mr. Compton and Mr. Whitner were very instrumental. Mrs. Joy Barrett Hall and the Ridgeview Beta Club students. Deidre Deedle is our Title I coordinator, and she facilitated the Beta Club students in the community tours, and Mr. Birch, who is much better at this than I am, shared with us that there were probably 500 people that walked through Ridgeview Elementary School from 12 to 2 o'clock, and that's just amazing. Our Ridgeview Elementary's children, of course, they participated in the Pledge of Allegiance. They participated in the ribbon cutting, and if you saw them, they were so proud. And I'd like to recognize them and their parents, Holden Mullins, Anna Owens, Madeline Hackney, Axie Deal, Colton Lothry, Alexis Bynes, Raylan Davis, Ava Turner. If I said, please come up, I needed to get out of the way because they were coming, you know. They would have beat me there before I said it. I also like to recognize Colin Edwards. He did an excellent job in leading the Pledge of Allegiance. And John Henry Moore, who sang the national anthem. What a beautiful, beautiful job he did. And I think all of us just got goosebumps to do that. He didn't need any music. He did that, and he did it tremendous. Another group of students who I think really showed their talent was the 4 students in the Synthetic Symphony. Ethan Deedle, Connor Garrett Moore, and Isabel Shalley. And under Mr. Jonathan McCall's, our band director, under their direction, they did an excellent job. And I turned over to Colonel Putnam and I said, you have to understand, we did not have a formal band program until 7 years ago. And of course he was like, what? And there. Dr. Neese, Ridgeview High Elementary principal, and Miss Tammy Belcher, along with Jane Church and Teresa Edwards, our secretarial staff. And last but not least, if you did not stay for the reception, you certainly missed a feast. I noticed Mr. Hicks, I can't tell how many times that he went back, but that's another story. Just a very special thanks and gratitude for the feast and the decorations. All the food was handmade, homemade, and everyone that ate it, you know, they were looking for pockets and to put food in and trays in. Miss Denisha Edwards, Miss Deborah Compton, Miss Debbie Dodson, Miss Rachel Lyle, Miss Anna Hill, Miss Tanya Baker, Miss Michelle Edwards, Miss Michaela Cook, and Alicia Moore. And so all of these people were the people behind the scenes that you did not see, but who made that day so very special. So I'd like to recognize all of them, and if you will please join me in a round of applause for them. And now, Mr. Rasnick, we're ready for Mr. Deal. Thank you for allowing me to recognize those important people.
Good afternoon. I think in your packet, Tanya told me that you guys, if you look at the blue paper first, I think that's the first one that we'll look at. If you look at that sheet, what you'll see is a draft of upcoming PD events that's going, as well as our preschool workday activities. Just to point out a couple of things there, you'll notice in July the 17th through the 20th, we're going to be meeting with our grade levels. And at that time, we'll be talking about a reading series. And, just trying to point out some ways that they might be able to teach their class, show them how to set up stations, just trying to get their education in line with the upcoming Virginia Literacy Act. And that should be in 2 pages there. Also, you can see on August the 2nd, we have a new teacher orientation. All new teachers will meet with the central office staff and some other folks, and just to give them an idea of who we are and what we do. Okay, next, if you look for the orange tab next, the orange tab is the part that Miss Martin had put together for you. And in that position, it's you'll see information about our attendance. So our enrollment shows that we've increased 1 student from last month, and that is in April, and 1 student from the same time last year. For May, we show 1,831 students enrolled in K-12, 119 in pre-K and postgraduate, and 45 virtual students, for a total of 1,995 students, finishing up in May. And again, it's just one more than what we had last year at this same time. For monthly attendance percentages in May, Clearwood Elementary had the best overall attendance percentage for the month at 93.6%. As you can see, most of the schools have reached the 90% mark, or the goal that we had put in place, and she has that broke down for you on the next page. As you can see in the packet, there's a summary of attendance and enrollments. There's a breakdown of enrollments by school and by grade level, attendance percentage comparison for the last 4 years, entry and withdrawal from each school, and the last thing there, she has pictures of the perfect attendance students. She indicates here that you guys like to see that pretty good. Any questions about either of those things?
Anybody have any questions? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Steele.
Yeah. One more thing, but I guess I'll wait till after Mark does his part.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deal.
Our next agenda item is the update on Ridgeview Elementary School. Mr. Burge.
Well, good evening. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Finally got the elementary school open and continue to work on the addition, trying to get it in line. Get these slides up and see what we can go here. Thing to work. Huh? No. Okay. Which one? Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah. So, for the construction this month, the elevator inspections was completed, final inspections were completed, received the temporary CO. We hope to have the final CO this Friday. I received the last documentation that I'm aware of yesterday. We had the ribbon cutting, which was a great day. I think that was very well put together. We moved staff into the school. All their belongings have been moved to the school. And then we're finalizing the punch list right now on the elementary school. All right. Went too far. The classroom addition is coming along real well this month. We have the sidings completed on the outside. The drywall's been finished. The primer and first coat of paint is done. They'll be back to be doing the final coat of paint this week. Flooring's been installed, ceiling grid's been installed, light fixtures have been installed, the HVAC grills are installed. We are waiting on one more HVAC unit. It's shipped out today, so we should have that in the next few days so we can get those set on the roof and get them tied in. The casework's been installed. the window sills, and most all the low voltage wiring and devices have been installed as well. As far as the budget, the main project, the main elementary school, is still within budget. The classroom wing, it is as well, is still in budget. They will come back and put the furniture in once we have everything completed. It's ready to go in. Progress photos, don't have a lot tonight, but for the elementary school, but this was our setup for our the ribbon cutting. Now most of the pictures are going to be all for the expansion. This is where they've got the casework set. One of the classrooms, you can see the walls are primed, flooring's down, grid's up, lights in, grills in. This is the classroom that we added a door to the bathroom for the first grade class. They've installed the door frame. Here's one of the toilets. They've already started setting the fixtures in that area as well. Guess I'm not pointing at the right spot. Another classroom, the lockers are installed, flooring, of course, so it's looking good. Another classroom, you can see the casework's installed. The plumbers have been there doing their, putting in sinks and things. Another classroom, of course, flooring again, ceiling grid. A lot of the same pictures, it seems. They've got a lot of the technology already installed, amps for the sound system in the classrooms. Just need to put the plates on, make the final connections. Another classroom, I think this one may be on the second floor. I don't like your clicker, Ryan. Another classroom on the second floor as well. You can see they've got walls up. Lockers again. The docking stations for the iPads. And this is the multi-purpose room. It's about the same position as the stage as the rest of them. Another view of the multi-purpose room. Storage closet there in the multi-purpose room. It's casework. This is a picture of the addition itself, just basically what the outside is. Was able to get a picture of the Ridgeview Elementary School sign with the school in the background. I thought that was pretty neat today. I think that's the last one. So things are moving well. I spoke with Quisenberry today, and they'll be getting their final contractors back out here. The painter's supposed to be here this week. Plumbers, get the HVAC hooked up. Basically, then we can start and get the tile dropped in. Any questions about the construction? Let me give a little update on the Phase 3 addition. We are waiting for the final drawings, and we'll be getting a GMP, probably be bringing it to the board next month for approval. So that one is moving forward as well. Hope to start construction on that project late July or early August. So things are looking good and moving forward. Any questions, comments?
Does anyone have a question?
I guess I've got one, and this may be more for Mr. Robinson than you, but one of you can answer it.
Mr. Burge.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned you'd moved administrative offices and teachers up there. So day-to-day, if a community member or a parent needed, who would normally call Sand Lick or Irvington if they wanted to enroll a student or anything, are we in the building now and they would?
And that's a great question. We have moved our phone lines from Irvington so that it is picked up here at Ridgeview Elementary School. The assistant principal at Sand Lake is still working there as they're trying to get everything out and so on that way. So we're trying to cover all of that. We will probably, they're coming to look at the ceiling and roof, and help me if I'm wrong here, on July the 5th. So we're probably going to be out of Sand Lake sometime mid-1st of July. And then we will let our parents know to contact here. Now, at Irvington, we'll be there longer because we have the Appalachian Project Service there, and so we'll probably just keep the phones connected so that it rings at Ridgeview Elementary School. But that's a great question. So they've tried to make sure that all the buildings are being covered.
And I spoke with Mr. Anise today, and he said it seems to be that school is going well.
Yeah.
I got to eat lunch out of the cafeteria today. It was very good. So, so that's real. Anything else? All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Burge. The next on the agenda is approval of fiscal year 24 milk and dairy bid. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I have with me Ms. Deborah Compton, our Food Services Coordinator. Just wanted to let you know that an invitation for bid for milk and dairy was issued on May 10th, 2023. Bids were accepted through June 14th, 2023 at 10 a.m. At that time, Ms. Compton and I opened the bids that were received on June 14th at 10 a.m. There was one bid received. That bid was from New Dairy, Kentucky, DBA Borden Dairy. Unit costs that were in the bid were comparable to our current prices. Those were included in your board packet. The total annual cost based on those unit costs and our estimated usage is $111,863.40 per year. We request that the board accept the milk and dairy bid from New Dairy, Kentucky, and give consent to enter contract for the period August 1st, 2023, and ending July 31st, 2024. Also, if you have any specific questions related to products or the milk bids, that's why I do have my subject matter expert here with. I can help you with the bid, but I can't help you with the milk.
Does anyone have a question? I don't. Hearing no questions, is there a motion to approve the milk and dairy bid as presented? Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next agenda item is, thank you. Our next agenda item is approval of 2023-20, update on fiscal year 24 budget. Ms. Taylor?
I had sent in your packets last week an update as to where we were. I think that was as of maybe Thursday, and that has, of course, changed. The General Assembly has not met any further on the budget, so the budget that we have now from the June 9th calculation tools received from VDOE, that is the budget that we will move forward with. Dickinson County Board of Supervisors was scheduled to approve their budget last night. We have not yet heard the details on the budget that was passed, so we are expecting those at any time to come from the county administrator. What we were expecting from the Board of Supervisors was the required local match plus $500,000 for salary and wage increases, so we are still waiting to hear if that is the case. The current 2023-24 RLM, and that's based on the June 9th calculation tools released by VDOE, was $4,952,997. With the additional $500,000 that we had requested, and we're expecting to receive, that total would be $5,452,997 from Dickinson County. Of course, there are two days left in the fiscal year, so if anything changes in that, we will keep you updated. Based on where we are now, I know that we had mentioned that salary scales may need to be adjusted at some point in time because the State General Assembly did not make any changes or has not made any changes as of today. We will move forward with preparing contracts based on the salary scales that you approved in May.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Taylor?
Yeah, Ms. Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is the governor could call a special session at some time in July. Is that what is any information coming from that's a possibility?
I have heard that is a possibility. I can't verify that one way or another, but I have also heard that as well. I have also heard that the General Assembly may come back and award more money in July, August, September, October, anytime during the next fiscal year. And so, of course, if that were to happen, we'll come back to you and adjust.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item. The end of fiscal year 23 budget, end of fiscal year summary. Ms. Taylor?
As I mentioned, we still have 2 days left in the fiscal year. We are still monitoring very closely. You have all of our expenditures to date that you approved earlier within your consent agenda. We are still monitoring revenues because there are 2 days left in the fiscal year that revenues could still come in. Based on the March 31st enrollment numbers and ADM and the VDOE final calculation tool that was released on, looks like June the 8th, we are not going to need to request any additional funding from Dickinson County to cover required local match for this year. We are in good shape. We will have 2 payrolls that process as expenditures June 30th, which you would have seen in your packets. That's the June payroll and what we refer to as post-payroll for our employees that have contracts less than 12 months. And on Friday, June 30th, as usual, Dickinson County Public Schools will finalize the revenues and expenditures through that date. We will submit a carryover request letter to Dickinson County requesting that all remaining funds for the school board and the school system are carried over into fiscal year 23-24. At that time, we will also make sure that each of you receives a copy of that letter.
Does anyone have a question? Hearing none, Ms. Taylor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item is approval of 2023-2024 federal grant application, Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Title V. Mr. Mark Mullins.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I hope everybody received my email from probably last week, which kind of detailed our federal grants for tonight. All the grant amounts are estimates at this time, and we will receive final allocation amounts later this fall. We have 5 grants, as Mr. Rasnick mentioned, that we are asking for approval on. And just a reminder, the intent of all of our federal grants are to support or supplement our existing instructional program. So to briefly summarize each of those grants, we'll start with Title I, Part A. This by far is the largest federal grant that we have. The estimate for this grant is $850,000 for next year. This grant will provide federal funds to operate our Title I programs in both of our elementary schools. This will involve Title I reading teachers, Title I math teachers, 1 computer lab teacher, and 2 reading specialists. Reading and math intervention and remediation is the primary goal for our Title I program. 98% of this grant will cover the salary and benefits for 9 full-time employees. Let me just briefly mention pre-K here while I'm talking about Title I. This will be the first year in many years that Title I will not be needed to at least partially fund our pre-K program. Pre-K will be completely funded with Virginia Preschool Initiative Funds, or VPI funds, which are entirely state and local funds. So for this upcoming year, we have plans for 4 pre-K classrooms for the coming school year. The total cost for the pre-K program for next year is estimated to be approximately $477,000, and this will cover the salaries and benefits for 4 teachers, for 5 aides, along with the materials and supplies needed to operate the program. So usually, Title I is a part of our pre-K funding, but for this year coming up, it will not be. That would be completely state and local funded. Our next federal grant is Title II, Part A. The estimate for this grant is $102,000 for the coming school year. This grant provides federal funds to pay for class size reduction teachers in grades K through 6. The grant will cover salaries for 3 teachers in those grade levels, and the funds assist in maintaining a lower class size across that grade span. 100% of this grant goes towards salaries for those 3 teachers. And just a reminder as to what exactly do we mean when we say class size reduction teachers. I've got an example that I'll share with you. If we have 72 students projected in grade 3, the SOQs, or the standards of quality as set by the Virginia Department of Education, would indicate that we can have 24 students to 1 teacher to cover that grade level. This would mean that 3 teachers would cover 72 students, and we would have 24 to 1 student-teacher ratio. If we added a 4th teacher through class size reduction funds, we can go from a 24 to 1 student-teacher ratio to an 18 to 1 student-teacher ratio. So that's what we're talking about when we say class size reduction teachers. Title II, Part A would cover 3 class size reduction teacher salaries. Title III, statewide consortium. The estimate for this grant is $1,168 for next year, and this grant provides funds to assist the division's English learner students. Materials and supplies are purchased to assist with language development for those students, and currently the division has 2 students in the division who are classified as English learners. Title IV, Part A, the estimate for this grant is $66,000. This grant will cover 1 additional class size reduction teacher in the elementary grades. It will cover salary and benefits, and 100% of this grant goes towards teacher salary and benefits. And the last grant is Title V, Part B, rural schools. We estimate this grant to be at $55,000 for the coming year. This grant works in conjunction with Title II, Part A, to cover the benefit cost for the 3 K through 6th grade class size reduction teachers. 100% of this grant goes towards teacher benefits and expenses. All 5 federal grants are projected this year to total approximately $1,074,168. Salary and benefits are covered for 13 full-time employees within these grants, and we're not proposing any major changes from the previous school year for any of these federal grant applications. I'll try to answer any questions if you have them regarding any of our 5 federal grants.
Does anyone have a question? Do we have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 federal grant applications as presented?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next, we would like to welcome Ms. Carol, Ms. Heather Lynch with Propel Counseling, and Mr. Setzer with Communities in School.
And as they're coming up, it's a pleasure to see them. As you recall, Ms. Carroll and Ms. Lynch are with Propel Counseling. They've been working with us since January of 2023, excuse me. And they are working with us as a result of a community school grant of $437,000 that Dixon County received to provide student-focused services for our students by Propel, and later Mr. Communities in Schools with Mr. Setzer. So, welcome, ladies. It's good to have you with us.
Is Mr. Setzer here? I don't see him.
Working through some technical difficulties.
Technology different, yes, I understand.
I will start just with some.
Heather, if you could speak a little bit closer to the microphone, please. And
I'm a
there
little
you go.
short
Thank you.
also, so is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So I'm Heather Lynch, of course, and, we were super excited to start this opportunity and, be part of this amazing thing that hasn't happened before in this county. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get the PowerPoint up. But one thing I had wanted to share specifically and start with is just positive impacts that we've had. And so we have several positive success stories from the schools, and we'll keep those kind of generic for confidentiality purposes. But, we have had different mental health crises that we have dealt with since February at each of the schools. And so in addition to that, we have seen improvements in a lot of the children we have worked with. So one of those came from the middle school population, and a student was having some suicidal thoughts, and we were able to assist with that and redirect them to behavioral health and, get them some assistance, and then they were able to reintegrate back into the school system. We had a similar situation at the high school as well, and then we have also been able to stabilize in the school environment and de-escalate clients to just be more calm. And so, we have had students with some aggression that sometimes is really tough to handle, and we've been able to take some lead on some of those situations, take some of the burden off the school system, and, be able to connect with resources that sometimes aren't widely known. So that was a huge one. Simple ones for our elementary school kids, right? So at Sand Lake Elementary, we had one parent report to us that not only was the kiddo doing better at school, but they were also doing better at home. And that's really what we want to see, right? Sometimes we don't always get to see that, but the parent was even seeing a lot of changes in the home environment based on the school-based services. We have also, this was a Clintwood Elementary one, and they had an older student that at that school that had looked up, we have, unfortunately, in every school system, we have children who have some significant needs sometimes and look at, different ways of maybe, hurting themselves or just thinking about it. And we had a student that had actually opened up and, that they actually completely improved and did a complete 360 and, smiling in the hallway, depression symptoms lifted after interventions that were provided. So I wanted to start with those. I've always, as a leader, wanted to do success stories and had asked staff to send those because I think sometimes those specific stories you don't always get to hear. And just those 4 or 5 stories, there's probably 100 more like them. So we're very pleased with that.
Yeah, I think Ryan's back here.
Are we go on the PowerPoint?
Ryan?
Oh, I see it, there it is.
There we go.
So you can go ahead and advance it. So that's some of our school-based staff. Some of you all will know them and some of you won't. We have a couple that are not from here, actually, in the county, which is amazing. I love that they're coming over and investing their time from Wise County and Kentucky, and yeah, let's see. 3 from Wise County, 1 from Kentucky, 2 from Dickinson County, right?
I think so.
So I think it's awesome that we can bring in the talents from all around, and we've got that investment in our county. So that's our school-based staff. Of course, Heather and I over there, somebody threw that picture in. It looks like we did get a new staff member recently, Jet. He's our therapy dog that we're having trained in the office. So there you see a little picture of that there. We just love him. But the school-based staff, Brittany Presley, let me get over here where I can see better. There we go. Brittany Presley, Kitty Hall, Mindy Main, and then that's Kayla Newsom. She is the licensed counselor that you see around. She is a licensed counselor. She is very trained in risk assessment and crisis intervention. And then you have Courtney Holbrook and Ken McReynolds. I always forget his last name. So let's see. If you haven't met them, I encourage you to just ask us. We'll get you in contact with them. They're wonderful people. We were talking the other day what an amazing team we've assembled. It's just been an absolute joy to work with them. So just a little bit of a backstory quickly. Do you want to give that? Do you want me to do that?
Sure. I'll do it. Okay. So Propel Counseling Group, of course, partner with Dickinson County Public School Systems to provide mental health support services for all students. So this was first of its kind in our area, not in this county, and it's a brand new adventure for us and the school system, so I think it's something to be incredibly proud of, and as a resident of Dickinson County myself, the program is free to all students and it can be combined with other services such as community and schools, Dickinson County Behavioral Health, to provide wraparound care for all students.
So just to kind of recap, we've had a lot of questions about the program. I guess this is the most asked question. I probably should get over here. The most asked question we have is just asking about the tiered system. And it is a little bit of a tricky thing to wrap your head around, but the way it is set up, it best functions to serve the needs of the student. It serves the needs of the students rather than the needs of the program. And we're able to put the students in the tiers that they need, which would be more intensive interventions at Tier 3. These are going to be the kiddos that are at risk of some sort of danger to themselves, at risk of out-of-home placement, at risk of out-of-school placement, coming out of hospitalization, or any kind of court involvement. So these Tier 3 students, they're the ones that are going to have the highest level of need, and we look at more frequent and more intensive interventions. That includes time with a licensed counselor, licensed therapist, including, work on specific needs there, and coordination also with whatever agency is referring them. Also, that level of support provides us an opportunity to put safety plans in place, which would mean that we rope in the family, other agencies, other support systems to make sure that they stay safe and they have what they need. Tier 2, stepping down to Tier 2, means that they're at less risk. They still have that need for more intensive services, but their level of risk has come down to a more functioning level. They reduce frequency of services. They're still working with a licensed therapist. Then Tier 1 is the gem, I think, of this program, because Tier 1 allows us to see any student regardless of Medicaid, regardless of insurance, regardless of level of need. And Tier 1 is available to, that's when we send home the opt-out forms. So Tier 1 is available to any student whose parent does not send back an opt-out form. And it's my understanding those will go home with the first of the year packets. So that will be something that will be included with all of those forms that parents love to sign at the beginning of the year. As far as Tier 2 and Tier 3, they kind of look the same to teachers. If you're a faculty member, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 support is going to look a lot the same. It includes time with the counselor in the office or in the classroom setting, and it's very much tailored to what that student needs.
It also includes family contact, which we believe is super important. And, you know, when you have 20-some kids in a classroom, you know, you don't always have time to update the family on every little thing. So on these more intense things, you know, on these kiddos, we are able to actually, you know, be that kind of go-between a little bit and, you know, ask the parents to do certain interventions as well. So we're able to make those family contacts, and I think that's super important, especially if you're dealing with anxiety and separation, anxiety and attendance to school. So.
And just to kind of revisit, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 is also available to any student regardless of insurance or Medicaid. It's just that Tier 2 and Tier 3 require the parent to come and actually sign consent forms. We go over the whole treatment process. Tier 2 and Tier 3 students have an actual treatment plan similar to what they would have if they were going to the doctor and getting treatment for an injury or something like that. So Tier 2 and Tier 3 is just a little bit more investment as far as time and services we offer, but it's all of those tiers are still inclusive of any student. Go ahead.
So the total number of Tier 2 and 3 from February of 2023 to current was 40. Now, when you think about the students in Dickinson County, that may seem small, right? But this type intensive service, some of these kids, one kid sometimes may take up a very large portion of your day. And so on average, that was about 10 per school. Irvington Elementary was partially staffed this school year, just with numbers. And so, you know, so that to me is brilliant, because February till now, to have 40 children in the county, in similar programs that were in the past in this county for mental health, those numbers don't even touch what another provider could have done within 3 months, because we didn't have to go through Medicaid. We didn't have to get service authorizations. And so so we assessed 40 children with an 8-page assessment within that, from February to May. And we actually assessed more than that. They got outpatient therapy and other things.
Treatment plans.
And did treatment plans, which sometimes are also 10 pages long. So that is huge to me, because I've been a mental health provider for many, many years now, and to be able to open up that many children and serve in this county is just unprecedented. So now that is just Tier 2 and 3. Tier 1, we may be seeing 25 kids daily, and that is a low estimate. Sometimes we're seeing 10 kids a day per school on top of the other 10 kids per school, okay? And so those are kids that maybe are just having a little bit of test anxiety, or they really had some friend issues that day, and they're crying, and they just need a little bit of assistance, but they're okay after we intervene, and they don't need ongoing services. So so those numbers to us are really amazing with the staff that we've had. And again, we didn't include outpatient, because that's something Propel is providing, but those numbers are even higher when you think about our home-based services and office-based services that we are coming and bringing into the school as well, that are just part of what Propel does. So.
Another thing that is amazing about the team that we assembled is that they all come from a school-based services background. So they were able to step in. Now keep in mind, all of these services we provide, except for brief encounters through Tier 1. Now some Tier 1 are included in what I'm about to say, but all of these encounters include documentation. When you go to the doctor, you can log into your MyChart and see your chart note from a doctor. We have to do this. We're under the same requirements. So we have been able to assemble a team that was already used to providing documentation of their encounters and the interventions they provide. So they were able to step in and actually start documenting some of these services. The Tier 1 students don't receive the same documentation because they don't have the treatment plans, but they do document encounters that are significant. We may be having a kiddo in Tier 1 that they're documenting that they're seeing every day. They're having to help them calm down for every single test, or they're having to help them with social skills and get along with other children. So if we see that we're seeing them often, we bump them and bring them into a Tier 2 and assess them and pull in a treatment plan and actually provide those more intensive services. But the Tier 1, they're documented when the need arises that we see we need to start tracking that as well. So our team has done a great job adapting to the documentation. They've had work group sessions together. On teacher work days, they assemble, and they've actually gotten together and tweaked and collaborated and developed the documentation. We've been able to build this from the ground up and develop our own system of documentation that equals, if not rivals, what Medicaid used to provide through therapeutic day treatment. We're able to do our own documentation through this program. So it's been kind of neat. We've been able to track and document things that we need to. So that's always there. We always kind of cover our bases, and we keep all that in a secure digital file through an electronic health record, similar to what you would see if you went to the doctor and used MyChart. We use another program. But keep in mind, when you see all these numbers, all of these clinicians are documenting things. So that's quite a bit, but they've risen to the occasion. So we asked for an estimate. Of numbers because we've thrown this together quickly and we've grown quickly. So we've asked for an estimate of numbers from the staff. And one of the very unique things about this program is that we're able to provide services that students previously received if they had Medicaid only to any student in the school. We estimated that we've been able to see at least 22 students in upper level intensive services that would have not previously been provided that intensive level of service because they didn't have Medicaid. So we've added that many in that short of time. So that's been a benefit also.
We also had 12 clients and students transition from Tier 3 to Tier 2. So that means that their risk lowered and they were using skills that they had learned and they were able to avoid more restrictive interventions. So at that point you would be seeing less office referrals, less teachers calling for assistance, and so we were able to do that from February to May. So they started at the highest level and worked down to Tier 2. We've assisted in supporting school staff. I touched on that in the beginning with some of those success stories, but during student crises, including self-harm, suicidal ideation, other more intense needs, 6 students received this support, and we were able to avoid a crisis pre-screen or an ER visit by implementing a safety plan and coordinating services between Propel, the school, and other services as needed. And the way the program runs, we serve so many children from very mild anxiety or mild behavior issues all the way up to more severe. And Dickinson County is no different than any other county that, these issues are here, and this is why this school board and this county has done such an incredible job in the replacement of TDT by making sure that those students were still served when that service was quickly pulled within a few weeks' notice. So.
I don't know if any of y'all have ever been familiar with a crisis pre-screening or an ER visit when there's risk involved. If a student expresses, that they don't want to live anymore, that they have a plan, that they're wanting to hurt themselves, typically what happens is they have to visit the ER or they go to behavioral health who does the crisis pre-screening. Sometimes hospitalization results, sometimes not. But either way, that process can be triggering for some of these kids, especially the ER visit. That can sometimes result in a 17, 18-hour ER stay because they have to get the appropriate things involved to assess the risk, and there's a lot of red tape. And most of the time it's traumatic. So we've been able to avoid that because we were able to do, we have what's called a Columbia Suicide Risk Assessment, and yeah, that's right. And that allows us to score their level of risk and see if they need to be pre-screened, if they need to go to the ER, if they're at a level of risk that doing a safety plan, calling the parents, making sure dangerous objects are put away, letting the school know what the need is. Other services are involved and pulled in. They're referred to FAP team, or they're referred for evaluations and things like that. So we're able to get them from point A to point B and avoid that traumatic event that wasn't necessarily needed for their level of risk. Now, if they were at a level of risk that needed a pre-screen or an ER visit, absolutely, they, that advice was given, and, the school worked hand in hand with our clinicians to implement that. So we felt like the way this was quickly put together, almost immediately, the cohesive nature of responding in that crisis moment was very impressive by the school as well as our staff. We had a lot of positive feedback from the families as well on that.
So we have also been collecting data, and it's a little too short to share that right now, just because it's a February to May. Usually that data streams with a full semester or a school year. It's a daily living activities scale that covers 20 domains of life and measures functioning, and so the data collected will be used to compare data each semester to gauge improvements in student functioning. And so we gave you those initial numbers of how many kids transition between the tiers. And then, we hope in the future we'll be able to share this other data. And we've done this on every child that's in Tier 2 and 3. We would not do this on a Tier 1 kiddo, but a kiddo that's receiving a lot of interventions, we're measuring their function in various life domains, and we'll be able to put some numbers with that. So
some of those life domains include like social connections, hygiene. I'm trying to think of a few. Kitty's probably familiar. I used to know them all by heart, but just different domains of functioning that you don't really think about measuring on a kiddo. Then it comes up with an average score. So they may score an average of a 4.7 this semester, but we may remeasure it next semester and they've gone down to a 2.5. And that may not seem like a huge adjustment, but that may mean leaps and bounds for their functioning in several areas. Overall.
Yeah, and so, just again, we've been able to assist with students in crisis situations, work with school administration and outside agencies. And we say outside agencies, we're also working with these children's primary care physicians much of the time, sending in letters to update them if they're on medication. We are able to make referrals for psychological exams, neurological exams, just anything that child may need to function better in the school environment, so we have more information. All the staff provide real-time interventions to students in the classroom and other areas of the school. They de-escalate behaviors and help students to maintain focus throughout the day. We've also, of course, had lots of positive connections. We've done several events in all of the schools, the parent engagement nights that have been so fantastic that the schools have put on and put so much work and effort into, and community and schools. And so we've really enjoyed those. That was a picture from ICANN Day, which is always one of my favorite events of the year that the school system puts on. So we really appreciate the opportunity to partner with that and to just be able to be present and to put some smiles on some kids and families' faces, and also be available to connect people with more services. So I think that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Or did that cover everything we needed to cover?
Yes, it did. Questions or?
Yeah, I had a question just related to, I know it's still early on and you're looking at your data, but so far, how, when you look at your caseload, is staffing sufficient at the current time, or will that change, you think?
Our staff are incredibly busy.
We could have triple more and still be just scratching the surface.
There have been times that we've had some situations that we, our staff, we've kind of from the office sent support staff to the schools as well. And so there have been times that, there was a need for more staffing. And isn't that always the case, right?
Yeah.
More teachers, more aides, more counselors. I think that's where we are. And but I think that considering from February to May, I feel like we were sufficiently staffed, but we are pretty full.
Sure.
Right.
So.
Very, very impressive what you guys are doing and as they've accomplished. And the only thing that maybe outshines your professionalism is your heart and your passion for your work. That's pretty evident. I feel like I've sat through a pregame speech. I don't know what we would go do, but I'm ready to go run through a wall or do something for you.
Let's find some more money for more staff. That's what we need to do.
Ms. Taylor?
We are looking for, we are hopeful, this program will last for another year, but we're hopeful that there will be more grants available just like this one, and just hopeful that we will be able to continue to fund this. This is a real need, not only in our school division, but in all of our school divisions. It's a real need. So, thank you, ladies. Great job. Thank you so much. And Mr. Setzer? Mr. Setzer is here with Communities in Schools. Communities in Schools, Mr. Setzer, Propel Counseling with Kim and Heather work very closely together. I love when Mr. Setzer says we just can't wrap enough resources around our children, and that's what we try to do.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to be here again. As you know, we've finished up our second year with Communities in Schools. We've grown quite a bit. I apologize for the length of the slideshow. Most of this is second semester stuff, but I'll try to go through it fairly quickly. Next slide, please. As you know, what we do is we put people in schools to support children. That's basically it in a nutshell. We'll do it individually, small groups, and we also support the whole school. We call those individual student support coordinators. Next slide. You've seen this slide many times before. These are some of the supports that we offer. Every student that we have on our caseload has an ABC's goal. The A stands for attendance, the B stands for behavior, the C stands for coursework, or they have a social emotional goal, or more than one. Other things we do, we will promote life skills, we provide basic needs, which you'll see in a few seconds, and we are extremely huge with family engagement. Next slide.
And this is provided to all children?
All children, yes. Yes, thank you. Some of the whole school supports, as Ms. Robinson said, the goals that we come up with this year after our needs assessment was to increase the daily attendance, decrease chronic, increase family engagement in our schools, and as you know, or I hope you know, we actually do a lot of social emotional learning work. We have a special program at Clintwood Elementary, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Next slide. Our student support coordinators, next slide. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to meet them. At Ridgeview Middle School is Sabrina Mullins. She started in March, so she's fairly new with our organization. Tracy Deal began at the beginning of the school year. She did both Ridgeview schools at the beginning. Now she'll be stationed at Ridgeview High School. Next slide. Kim White and Crystal Lyle will be at the elementary school next year. We'll be fortunate to have two coordinators at the elementary school to help with the transition. Kim actually did Sandlick and Irvington until we hired Crystal in March, and Crystal took over at Sandlick. Next slide. And last but not least is Dana Skinner at Clintwood Elementary School, who started at the beginning of the school year. Next slide. Share with you real quickly the data from the year, actually. Next slide. We went into this school year with the goal of case managing 170 students between, at that time, our three coordinators. We actually met that goal mid-year. We had 180. We continued to take students on, and at the end of the year, we ended up with 219 students on our caseload. And you can see the breakdown between the schools on the top second column, top chart. Clintwood Elementary 53, Irvington 34, Sandlick 42, Ridgeview Middle 47, and Ridgeview High School 43 for a total of 219, which is about 29% over what we set as our goal. Next slide. As far as the individual goes, the three main ones were improve academics, improve attendance, and social emotional learning. 70% of the students we case managed met their goals, so that leaves a little room for improvement. 29% did not. Of course, 1% exited for whatever reason, transferring or going to another program. Next slide. Some of the supports we provided to the children or the students. Academic assistance, there was 3,745 students served, that number is duplicated. In other words, if one student was seen each day for the entire week, that would be 5 instances. The majority of that was through the Appalachian Literacy Project, where we were able to supply books to the elementary kids at 4 different periods during the school year. Attendance supports, we touched 28,105 students through our competitions and events during the school year. Next slide. I mentioned earlier that we were large on family engagement. You can see the first part of the chart shows basically the home visits and parent-family contacts. There was 1,827 of those, counting the ones we couldn't actually get in touch with them. We are strong believers that parents should be involved in the education of their child, whether it's positive or negative. And as a policy for communities and schools of Appalachian Highlands, we require our coordinators to at least once a month contact the parents and have a meaningful conversation with them, not just because they have to, but we want that conversation to be meaningful. Through the events, our events, and the events we partnered with the school system or other organizations, we touched 6,663 parents this school year. And the majority of those were actually through the Sesame Street and Communities program at Clintwood Elementary School, where we did it monthly through the program. Social emotional learning, 8,696 students. And again, the majority of those were through the Sesame Street SEL program, which we'll talk about more in just a second. Next slide. Case management information. As far as providing information and doing assessments, 433 out of the 2170, with the progress monitoring making up most of that, those numbers in that column. Progress monitoring is where the coordinators actually work with the individual students one-on-one or in small groups. We did some college and career preparation at the high school. For whatever reason, that career fair number is not correct. Every senior went to the career fair we had at the high school, so that number should be quite larger. We even did some hygiene instruction at one school. All in all, we served a total of 51,295 students in Dickinson County, and you can see what an increase that was from mid-year when I was before you once before.
Amazing.
Next slide. Besides the individual supports and the whole school supports, we also do a lot of basic needs supports. You can look down the list. We provide clothing, a lot of food, hygiene products, other assistance. What you don't see is the number of times we help people keep their electricity on or get it turned back on. You don't see us where we helped with getting the vehicles fixed so they can get the kids to school even though the buses run, finding a washer, dryer, those type of things. So in all, 3,723 units of basic needs provided during the school year. Next slide. Besides the individual supports we offer to the students and the whole school supports we offer to the entire school, we also facilitated some special programs this year in Dickinson County. Next slide. At Clintwood Elementary School, we piloted the DESA program, which is the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment. Every student, well, not every, but the majority of students were assessed, and this information will be provided to the school. Basically, it measures 8 domains of social emotional learning, for example, like self-awareness, self-control, self-management, relationship skills. And not only that, the program will provide the resources to the school to address those concerns, or the school can refer them to one of the services in the school, and we can work with them as well. We hope to see this program expand next year to all schools if the superintendent would so allow. But basically, these assessments are done by the teachers, not by us. Next slide. From Clintwood Elementary School, the first column, again, remember the DESA measures the students' strengths. It also tells you if they need instruction. The pre-assessment was done at the beginning of the year, the mid-year assessment was done towards the middle of the year, and then, of course, the end-of-year assessment. If you look for need if you look in the column need for instruction, you can see it dropped, which is what you want to see throughout the school year, and you want to see the strengths in the last column go up. So basically what we did and what the school did, children did, improve social and emotionally. Next slide. Another special program we piloted was the Sesame Street and Communities program. We will be bringing this to the new elementary school at Ridgeview next year. Basically, our coordinator will meet with every student in the building once a month as a class as they go through their schedule, and we will teach a social emotional learning lesson. Next slide. This year, these numbers were in the other charts, but I'll go over them again. We touched over 6,000 students through the program and over 3,000 of their parents with the activities and stuff that we sent home for them to complete. Next slide. And the last special program, in partnership with the school division, we applied for and received the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant through VDOE, our after-school program at Ridgeview Middle School. Next slide. And I want to take this opportunity to not only show you some of the good things that went on in the program, but to also recognize our partners who helped us put on the program. You may remember mid-year we talked about Teen Cuisine, a program to help kids learn to cook and eat healthier. This was done through the Virginia Cooperative Extension Office. You can see in the picture the stuff they got to take home with them if they completed the program. It was wonderful. The kids really enjoyed it, especially eating what they cooked. And we'll continue this on next year. After the first semester, Teen Cuisine ended. Next slide. And we moved on to Health Rocks with the Virginia Cooperative Extension Agency. Again, this program dealt with living a healthy lifestyle, and they got to do a lot of fun activities. Here they're making tie-dye t-shirts. Next slide. Learning a little bit about yoga. And again, next slide. Whenever they got finished, they got to take it home with them. So very, very good partnership with the co-op extension office. Next slide. Another one of our partners who were almost here weekly with the kids was the Dickinson County Sheriff's Office. Grant's a resource officer at Clintwood Elementary. He came up several times. They did work with safety and prevention. Next slide. And of course, most people knows Chris and Rowley, and I think the kid in the middle's done for. It looks like they were doing a felony stop. Next slide. We also partnered with the Lonesome Pine Regional Library, in particular the Johnny B. Dill Memorial Library. They came every other week to provide services to the kids in the after-school program, projects and book studies and those type of things. Next slide. William King Museum of Art, during the second semester, was up here every other week. Did a lot of art projects here. They're working on pottery. Next slide. And you can see some of the other activities they did during the program. Next slide, please. This is not one of our partners, but we brought back even some of the retired Dickinson County staff. Robin Charles on the left-hand side, quite the artist. Taught the kids how to do a landscape, and the other picture is just some of our staff that we hired helping out during that section of the program. Next slide. Wow. Just an example of some of the artwork they produced during their art clubs, and kids love art. Next slide. Another one of our partners, Dickinson County Behavioral Health Services, did a lot of work with prevention throughout the year. We really couldn't have functioned without all the partners doing this and helping us. And if you've noticed, I'm not talking any about the academic work and the social emotional activities that took place during the after-school program. I wanted to concentrate on our partners. Next slide. DSS partnered with us to provide primarily in the family engagement activities and events. We actually did at least one family engagement event per month. Here they set up able to provide information to the families about the services they offered. Next slide. 29th District Court Service Unit. On the left, Sandy Mullins. On the right is Martha Short. They also provided information to the students about the juvenile court system and hopefully how to avoid it. Next slide. We also partnered with UVA Wise, primarily for a field trip. We exposed the children to the campus at UVA Wise, all the activities and programs that take place there, and they got to eat a very good-looking meal on the far right. Next slide. Ralph Stanley Museum was also a partner for us. On this field trip, we invited the parents to go along with the children to tour the Ralph Stanley Museum and learn a little bit about the local history of Dickinson County. Next slide. Spearhead Trails, another one of our partners. This school year that we introduced the kids to archery while we were on this field trip, and we were able to continue on with archery here on the campus as well. Next slide. In these photos, you'll see some of our instructors for the program learning to shoot. And we have some very accomplished shooters. Some of the students can really shoot bows and arrows. A special thanks to Mr. Bradley Mullins, who actually came up to teach our children how to use these. Next slide. These are some of the sponsors or some of the partners we've not taken advantage of yet, which we will, a lot of them this summer. And I shouldn't say taken advantage, we've not utilized, I guess. But the Board of Supervisors, Johnson Chevrolet, Crooked Road, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Breaks Interstate Park, and Mountain Empire Community College, all these folks were very gracious in partnering with us to provide supports and services to our kids. Next slide. In addition to our partners, students who attended the after-school program took a lot of interesting field trips. Here they visited the birthplace of country music in Bristol. Next slide. We took them to Bays Mountain, Camp Bays, where they got to test, I guess, their nerve. Not my choice of shoes I would climb in on the right, but I guess it worked for him. Next slide. They also got the opportunity to go to the Hands-On Discovery Center in Gray, where they got to do a lot of archaeology-related activities, including digging for fossils. Next slide. And they got to take advantage of the other services they had there. Okay, next slide, please. And finally, Mr. Legath is one from the food service department one of many who helped make sure the kids ate a very nutritious snack or meal after school. And the reason I have him on here is because on the last day or next to the last day, he actually filled up book bags with food for the kids to take home over the summer. So we wanted to recognize him and the entire food service staff for what they did this school year. And we are currently in our second camp this summer. 2 weeks ago, I think, we had an art camp. They're currently working in a robotics camp and a makers camp. In a couple weeks, we have a transition camp for the students who want to attend. Basically, those fifth graders transition into middle school and those eighth graders transition into high school. That'll take place in a couple weeks. And then we'll end up the summer with a green activity. I think Portia Fletcher, who oversees the after-school program, is going to try to beautify the campus some more. I don't know how that's possible. But she actually wrote a grant, got some funding to plant some flowers and do some water-wise work to teach the kids about how to go green. That's it. The year flew by, the summer's flying by, and we'll be back at it before you know it. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I'm sure the board members agree, it's pretty amazing, the two presentations that we've just seen directly impacting our children. And thank you, Kim and Heather. Thank you, Mr. Sensor. Excellent.
Good to see you, Mr. Setzer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, discussion of requested surplus equipment at SES and ESS. Ms. Robinson.
Thank you, and I'm going to ask Mr. Mullins to assist also with this. As we've discussed with the closure of Irvington and Sand Lake, we have received several requests for equipment from communities, and so I've given you a list in your packet of some of the requests, and also the letter from the U.S. Corps of Engineers about the things that do not have to be demolished but can remain at the Sand Lake campus. So, Mr. Mullins, if you will provide guidance as we move forward with this, please. Thank you.
Yes, members of the board, I've given you a resolution, and just for your information, there was a Dickinson County Board of Supervisors meeting last night where they also passed a resolution dealing with some of these issues, and they asked for three things basically. They said that they were formally requesting that the school board, as quickly as is possible, allow the fair committee to have a set of bleachers from the Sand Lake Elementary School. And then the second thing they ask is that the school board leave and preserve all playground equipment at the Sand Lake Elementary School. And those were the two primary things that they were asking. And so I want to give you a real quick tutorial, I guess, on property and on law, and then tell you what I'm asking for. Basically, there are two types of property: real property and personal property. The real property is the land that makes up the Sand Lake and Irvington campuses. There are things on that land that might be considered personal property. Those are things that are not permanently affixed to the land that can be moved. Those are things like bleachers, playground equipment, and fencing. And so you got real property and you got personal property. We need to start the process of dealing with both of them. You've got community groups from the Fair Committee to the Kiwanis that are wanting to get some of this personal property and use it in a way that's consistent with not only the children's needs of Dickinson County, but the citizens of Dickinson County. And I've talked to the county administrator a couple times, and I think we are in complete agreement as to what that would look like. And the Board of Supervisors and the county administrator, they've been down to Sand Lake, they've looked at this, they've worked with the mayor there, the community members, and I think that they understand what that community wants and needs. And so with that background, I'll tell you there's one thing significantly different between a Board of Supervisors and a school board. And that is that Board of Supervisors can lawfully make gifts. And there's a law that comes around, and each of you have heard me say this several times, that under Virginia law, school systems cannot make gifts to community members, to churches. We want to do these things. They're benevolent organizations. They have their heart in the right place. But legally, we are not entitled to make gifts, and that's a very clear concept of law. So what you have in front of you is a resolution that does two things to two different types of property. The first is the number one, where you see now therefore be it resolved, that we are declaring that the Irvington and Sand Lake elementary schools are declared to be surplus property as that term is defined in the Code of Virginia. And the other thing that you need to understand with that is the real property. Now, as of tonight, you're not doing a deed. We are not formally transferring that land to the Board of Supervisors yet. There's going to be a time frame for us to do a transition. There's going to be some title work needs to be done. I talked to Mr. Barton about, you know, the things like the sewer there, just the things that we need to get our maintenance people talking to their people, and there's a transition period. There's also some things that need to be done just on the title work, and I'll need to work with the county attorney a little bit to make sure that we get those deeds in good form. You got to remember, those are deeds that, at least for the Irvington property, probably been around since the 30s. So we need, you know, it'll take a little bit of work to get that together. So what you're saying is basically two things. For the real property, we start the process. We start the process of working with them, and that's in that third paragraph where it says, our division superintendent and school board attorney, county administrator. Test 1, 2, okay. That it says that we will work with the county administrator. I think I'm good now. We'll work with the county administrator and the county attorney to begin this orderly transfer of these properties. The thing I wanted to point out, and I think is probably the most interest of the Board of Supervisors, is that we want to work with them, and we want to work with them and the community members that want the fencing, the playground equipment and all those things. And so what we want to do is start that process quickly. And what that looks like is tonight on paragraph 2, you will see that as of tonight, we are transferring that property to the Board of Supervisors. And so this issue of working through the nuances that they've been involved with, I think that they're better positioned to do that, and they can make a gift, and we can't. So to the extent we're wanting to do this quickly, promptly, if we were doing it, we would have to do some sort of agreement with them because we can't make a gift, that they would use this property, and in some way we would get the children would get the fair market value of that property, again, because legally we can't make a gift. It's just much simpler for us to declare it surplus, being part of those campuses, give it to the Board of Supervisors. They understand what needs to be done, and I think that what they want done is exactly what you all have said you want done, and so from where we sat and talking with Mr. Barton, this looked like the quickest way to get that done. In the end, what I'll be asking for is just a motion to approve this resolution, but if you have questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. The only thing I may have left out is on paragraph 3, the one thing that Mr. Barton and I talked about is with Sand Lick, we've got the Corps of Engineers there, and the Corps of Engineers have been great to work with, but we do need to work with them together as a county, Board of Supervisors and the school board, to make sure that whatever we're doing on that campus is consistent with what the Corps of Engineers' vision is that we should be doing. And I'm reasonably confident that we have a meeting of the minds with the county administrator and the Board of Supervisors on how to go about getting that personal property to these groups and getting Sand Lake ready for demolition and getting Irvington turned back over to the Board of Supervisors.
Mr. Mullins, would that also include the baseball field and the playground equipment at Irvington Elementary School?
Yeah, yes, it would, and I know that this board has expressed publicly that its desire is that these playground equipment stay in the community where the schools were located. And I know Clintwood will be going through this next year, Irvington going through it this year, Sand Lake now. I think that there was a general desire on this board that that equipment be put to good use in those communities. And I think the county administrator indicated to me he understood that, and his board felt the same way.
Does anyone have a question for Mr. Mullins? If not, do we have a motion to approve the recommendations for surplus equipment at Sand Lake Elementary School and Irvington Elementary School?
So moved.
That motion. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no.
Mr. Resnick and board members, on that same note, I know that we have a trophies at Irvington Elementary School, and it has been requested that in that community, that they be displayed in a locked case at the Quick Shop across from Peggy's Diner. For a period of time. We would still own those trophies, but for a period of time, they would be on display there in that community. If the board would so consider that, and if they're in agreement of that, we would also probably need a motion, because we're talking about several trophies, not just a few. We've also, as Mr. Mullins has indicated, the board has also, as always, wanted trophies to be displayed in that community, and in that in the Nora Irvington community, that seems to be the place where it would be the safest to be displayed.
Yeah, I appreciate them just willing to be able to do it. I'll make a motion that we allow those trophies to be stored there at the store.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Our next item is just things that we have discussed, just making sure about the recommendations for the Dixon County Fair, half-a-day release on the date of Kids Day, field trip for children with special needs, scheduling Celeste Kellogg, and teachers may be dismissed at 3 o'clock to attend the fair. And so if the board the pleasure of the board to approve the following recommendations for the Dixon County Fair.
I move we approve recommendations for the fair.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion passes.
Our next item is the update of the Ridgeview Elementary School, and so you see there the Sand Lake demolition on that, and that's a tentative deadline. They will be there on July 5th to begin the hazmat survey sampling of roof complete, and demolition by the end of December, and then, as Mr. Mullins has said, transfer of property to the county sometime in January of 2024. As Mr. Burge has mentioned, all the boxes and all the equipment has moved now to Ridgeview Elementary School. We are still working with staff, and next month at the July meeting, we'll have a status of the bus transportation. I know that Mr. Mooney is working very diligently with our bus drivers, having them to go on trial runs, actually running the routes, stopping, running the routes, stopping, and then getting the time schedules there so that we can tweak whatever we need to do so that there are no big surprises beginning of school with buses and timing. We're also talking with our Sheriff's Department to ask for additional help, probably the first week of school or so at Ridgeview Elementary School, while we get parents used to the new routes, how they're going to come in, how they're going to go out, those kinds of things. We all know that we want to take our children to school the first day or two, and so we anticipate quite a traffic issue here at Ridgeview, as we do every year, but now with the addition of the elementary school, we know that that will be greater. So we're going to be asking for additional assistance just to help our parents move through the building, through the campus, going out this way, all those kinds of things. And so we'll have more for that in July. If there's a topic that we have not covered, or that you would like to see covered in July before we begin school in August, please let us know, and we'll be more than glad to present on that particular topic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions, Ms. Robinson? We'll move to the next item then. Our next agenda item, approve the proposal of VSBA policy with Mr. Dennis Steele.
Mr. Mark Mullins. They do this. They change and then they don't tell me.
Sorry about that.
Did I have the wrong person?
No, I have the wrong person, Mr. Razak, apparently.
It was supposed to be Miss Martin, but we're Mr. Deal and I will fill in for Miss Martin. Mr. Chair, members of the board, from what I understand from what Ms. Martin has shared with me, earlier this month you received approximately 40 policy updates from the VSBA, and those policy updates mainly involved minor changes such as legal references and cross-reference updates. She shared that a couple of them were basically to correct some typographical errors that the VSBA had found in their original policies. The only policy of note that Ms. Martin asked that I make the board aware of tonight would be policy GAB/IIBEA and policy IIBEA/GAB, which is the Acceptable Computer System Use Policy. There's a new code amendment that is banning the use of TikTok and any app from the company that produces TikTok to be used on any government devices. And she states here that many federal entities and other state agencies have already instituted this ban. So that is a new policy. Any device that is owned by the school system the TikTok app, social media app, would be banned, I think probably through our filtering device. And of course, Mr. Wallace could tell us better, but I'd say those are blocked anyway. Sometimes folks find ways around those. But that is the only policy that Ms. Martin shared that she would want me to bring out and make mention. The others are just legal reference updates. But if there are any questions, I'll do my best. I've got a brief summary here, but I'm not real familiar with all those 40 policies.
We also want to apologize for the number of policies. Some of these policies need to go into the student handbook. The student handbook has to be to the publisher next week, and so we're kind of in a time crunch. We get all these policies together, so we do apologize for the number of policies in one meeting.
Does anyone have a question, Mr. Mullins? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the VSBA policies as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mullins. Next is the approval of 2023-2024 DCPS Student and Parent Handbook, Handbook for Students and Employee Handbook. Mr. Dennis Deal.
And it's just me again. So if you look for in your folder there, you should have some green papers. Those green sheets should have the information that I get ready to talk about. If I got the color right. Am I good, Tanya?
They do not have, they do not have the handbooks, but they were sent the handbooks.
Yes. And according to the note here, it says earlier last week, Ms. Robinson and Ms. Martin emailed you an electronic version of the student handbook and the consequent handbook, just for you to review. The employee handbook, which is distributed to employees electronically, was mailed to you for a review as well. So since you approved those policies a few minutes ago, she's asking that we also approve the handbooks that we're going to be sending.
Do you have any comment, Ms. Robinson?
No, sir, I do not.
Everybody's had a chance to look at this, I suppose. Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deal. And now we have the discussion of the surplus property of the town of Quincy Grove. The last item is the approval of surplus real estate property, Triple T Track B. Mr. Scott Mullins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is basically housekeeping. As you may recall, at the last meeting, there was we talked about a small tract of land that was to the immediate left, if you were looking at it from the main road, from the state road, at Triple T. And that property had been used by Triple T for years. Come to find out, when they did a survey, we owned a portion of it. And so Mr. Hackney made a motion the last time to declare the surplus, and that motion is shown on the resolution I've just given you. The problem the last time is that I didn't have a meets and bounds description of the exact location of the property which was needed for the deed. I've talked with the county administrator and the county attorney, and this is basically a cleanup resolution that includes the meets and bounds description, makes it clear that we are declaring this to be surplus property. It will be returned to the Board of Supervisors, who I understand, because they want to, of course, support any business that's in the area. They will be deeding it to the people that own the store there. But again, to be clear, and just to remind you, we could not have done that because we can't make gifts property, and so on surplus real property, what we have to do is return it to the Board of Supervisors. So basically what you have in front of you is a cleanup resolution that I would ask that you pass in the form presented, along with the deed that I prepared to transfer it over to the Board of Supervisors.
I move we pass the new resolution as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion passes. That is all the agenda items, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, board comment, and I'll start with Mr. Mullins on my left.
Well, I'll tell you, I was really amazed. It was really great to see the fishing team be so successful after just 24 months here. I mean, that's really a really large accomplishment. And it was really good to see the communities and the school and Propel, those organizations, bringing all those and explaining to us all those positive attributes that they have brought to our children and the community as well. So I think all that's to be really admired and commended. So things are very positive.
Dr. Long?
Okay. I echo Ms. Robinson's comments about the help our employees help during the ribbon cutting, especially the food preparation and serving. I think I made 2 trips back and had someone bring the dessert just in case.
Sir, I saw more than 2 trips, Dr. Law also.
The good news is that all current board members who are running for election, which is 4, not counting myself, are unopposed. And the gentleman, David Vanover, who is running for my position, is unopposed. I think that's a countywide acclamation of what we have done in the past 4 years. I think that's a good move. The new school, new elementary school, will be ready to open at the start of the new term, and the addition to the new elementary school will soon follow. I remember back when I first got on this board, at that time, we were appointed, not elected. We had 5 elementary schools, Clintsko, Irvington, Sand Lake, and Clintwood. Is that 5?
And Longsford.
And Longsford. And we had 3 high schools, Hayside, Irvington, Clintwood, and 1 vocational school. A total of 9 schools in 8 different locations. And now, soon to be, we will have all schools in 1 location. I think that's significant progress over time. Other than that, as many produce say, I'm just happy to be here.
Mr. Ackman.
Just some of the thoughts from tonight. I enjoyed hearing from the ladies from the Historical Society. I'm glad they were able to speak, and kind of hit me with the thought about, having field trips down there would be a good thing. I think a lot of times we put a lot of attention on Virginia and U.S. history, but local history is important too, and I think that's important to recognize. I'll follow up on the Ridgeview Bass Anglers group. That was fantastic. Glad they were here tonight, and congratulations. Very good performance they had, dominant performance, and maybe sometime in the future they could even host a high school bass tournament and get some home field advantage at Flanagan maybe. And I support the tax exempt status. Hopefully we can get that done for them.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate the Board of Supervisors working with us on the budget this year, enabling us to provide additional raise for our teachers, much deserved, much needed. Very happy to get that done. Also enjoyed the presentations from Propel staff and communities and schools. It's very informative. They provide a lot of information. It's important to hear those things that are going on. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks.
I think Ms. Music started off with this meeting saying that this meeting is usually looking at a lot of successes and looking forward. And I think that kind of sums this entire meeting up, from the success of those artifacts and things getting to the Historical Society, to have those on display, fishing program, communities in school, Propel, they gave 4 or 5 examples there, Heather did, as she first started, and if only one of those things had happened, that would have made that entire program worth it. And so it's just amazing the things they're doing and the services that they're providing for our kids. But all these successes are done, through partnerships, and as Mr. Ackney said, I'll echo him, the partnership with Board of Supervisors to be able to successfully raise our salary scales. I think even with the transfer of these properties is another partnership that's going along that's going to be successful with the transfer of those properties that's going to benefit, kids and our community as a whole. So a lot of great things that you get to sit here from this standpoint and see that are happening, but it doesn't happen without a whole lot of people and a whole lot of partnerships there.
That certainly was impressive. Those young men, and so Ridgeview and the other schools all had, high levels of success, and the grandparents, the parents, and other caregivers that were children, and teachers, and the administrators, and all other employees with the school division certainly have played a role in all those successes, and I hope that continues. And through the summer, everybody is just safe and happy and come back next year and do more of the same. Also, the folks that spoke from Propel Counseling and Mr. Setcher's Communities and school group, it seems like there's been a lot of success there as well, and certainly those children in need of that, they are blessed to have that in their lives, and the schools partner with them. I'm also thankful that we, as a school board, have nothing to say about surplus property. I think that's the appropriate venue, and it is law, so I have no problem with that whatsoever. I expect it to be distributed as, if any of us were there doing that, it would be in a fair and equitable manner as possible, and benefit the citizens of our county in the best way possible. There are a lot of questions about that because everybody doesn't understand that process, and they need, it needs to be well publicized, you know, now and in the future, that when that land is not used for public education, it goes back to the county, and those personal property items, that, you know, that the school boards, and as Mr. Mullins advised, we're not allowed to provide gifts, and it certainly needs to go to the entity that can, and let the people be served appropriately and correctly and understand the rules up front. So I just am very proud of the new school and the addition to come. There's been so many good things that have happened, and it's not come without a struggle here and there, but as Dr. Lyle said, in the end, it seems as if everything's going to come together in a good way for our children, and that's what we're here for. I certainly appreciate the input from all the board members and the positive way that they conducted business in this public setting over the last years, and I hope that continues now and in the future, whomever is running or not running. Dr. Lyle has been the senior member of this board for a number of years, as he said, going back to the appointment days, and that appointment was made by school selection board, if I remember correctly, and for each district, and at one time they had 7 members. I think it's changed through the years. I believe there was 7 members at one time to this. That goes back to the 1980s, I guess.
Had 7, 1 from each district and 2 appointed at large.
Well, that was, it was a different day. We've seen a lot of changes. I think the first school's going back to, I know the formation, they talk about the Historical Society. I hope everyone will take time to support them and go out there and visit, and appreciate the good work they do. I certainly look forward to reading their articles every week in the paper, and they have a treasure trove out there. And they probably have things dating back to 1880. Before that, people in Dixon County had to go to Wise County or Buchanan County in order to get their deeds, etc. And it was a burden for those people in this little, I guess, 326 square mile section that had to do all that. And that still is true today. If you go back to research your family far enough, you end up going to the courthouse in Russell County, or the courthouse in Wise County. And we tend to forget how blessed we are. It's a little hard to get around back in 1880 than it is today, but still some challenges. We've always been blessed with people that had a great faith in schools, and you can read about those in the books in the Historical Society, and if not that, in Meet Virginia's Baby, and also the follow-up books that Mr. E.J. Sutherland and his family did. Certainly a lot of history there that you can follow back to the first settlers that came to this county and to this country and to this state. It's all there. Many people in this county can trace their roots back to those countries, and they have kept a good legend all the way up to now. So if there's no further, we will now go into closed session pursuant to Section 2.23711, Paragraph A of the Code of Virginia. There will be a closed session for the purpose of 1, employment issues related to discussion or consideration of specific individuals for employment as custodians, resignations pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2 3711A, and to consult with legal counsel regarding the investment of public funds associated with school construction, and consultation regarding actual or probable litigation, along with consultation regarding specific matters requiring legal advice pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711, paragraph A, 6, paragraph 6, 7, and 8 of the Code of Virginia. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Is there a motion to go, well, I guess we better say this. Is there a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We're now out of closed session. Ms. Ross, would you please read the certification?
Yes, sir. Whereas the Dickinson County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this day pursuant to an affirmative vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the Dickinson County School Board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only the public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and two, only such public matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. Would you please certify?
I certify.
I certify.
I certify.
Certify.
Are there any motions from closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the employment recommendations as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Is there any other business to discuss? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.